Welcome to City on a Hill Gaming, a tabletop RPG actual play and discussion podcast. We hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome back to City on a Hill. I don't normally do the intro, but Ryan threw this one to me, so here we are. My name is Grant, and over here to my right, at least according to the Zoom window, we have the head of City on a Hill, Bryan.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And continuing around the table, we have Peter.
Hello.
We have Daniel.
I have one drink.
And we have Greg.
Yo.
That us.
Indeed. And I am your game master for this game of Wanderhome. We're going to do a quick character recap here because it's been a bit for us since we've recorded. But this is probably the last or second to last session of Wanderhome. So I hope everybody has been enjoying it. Certainly I have enjoyed it. The kids and I re-listened to it in the car not all that long ago on the drive to school. It was quite a lot of fun.
It's been big funs.
Yeah,
it's been a good session.
Absolutely.
Selection, I should say.
And as you'll hear in the reading, the sound check at the end of this episode, I may have hooked Ryan on a different, even weirder game.
I'm in trouble. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what happens when you start digging into my RPG box.
I know. It's fine.
At any
I'm
rate,
excited.
let's real quick just go over characters here. And I'll start with mine, because even though I'm kind of the GM on this, it's pretty close to GM-less. And my character is Sunny, who is a heron. Goes by they, them pronouns. They are generous. They are beautiful. They wish they were better at being honest and wish they were better at being frantic. There are some dances they will gladly dance, a dance they will never dance again. And they do all sorts of fun things. Let's see, who do we have next? Oh, we're back to Ryan. Okay.
I am Ryan, and I am playing... Where's her name? Lost her name. Bria. I am playing Bria Splittail. She is a skunk firelight with her firefly companion Flip. 2 I always try to be are patient and present. 2 she knows she can't always be are positive and enough. And one thing that is I always keep with me that is lit because I'm a firelight is a simple wooden incense holder shaped like a crashing wave that anchors me to my faith.
Nice. All right.
Oh, and I'm also part guardian, I think. I picked up a second playbook.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We're talking about the character, not the mechanics. Yeah. And up next, Peter.
I am playing Archibald. He is a walrus and a peddler. The 2 that he is are experienced and watchful, and the 2 that he feels that he needs to be are calculating and sustainable.
All right.
Is there other information you wanted, or
just if you don't, those are the key ones. We have other things that we can talk about, or we could move on to Daniel.
That's me.
And Daniel, who's your character? You're playing the Pilgrim.
That's me. Kinda. I'm playing the Pilgrim. Marion. Marion is a ceaseless animal, which I picked as a caribou. 2 things I try to be are patient and healthy. 2 things I've given up on ever being are proper and masculine.
And finally, we have Greg's Ragamuffin.
Named Pebble. Pebble is a penguin. He is very friendly and respectful, but he's also very quiet and scared. But you will never miss him without his suspenders, his cap, and his poking stick.
And he is the darkest of us all.
by a significant margin.
Significant margin.
Across all of the City on the Hill universe.
In 7 years.
Just really channeling that Don Bluth energy.
Yeah.
Big facts.
Yep.
Oh, this is really good. Oh my goodness. What's
happening?
Excellent. All right, so let's get started real quick. Making our new place. I've rolled up 3 traits for this place, and they are interesting ones, so I want to go over them real quick. The first one we have is a mirror. This is a place that reflects you back onto yourself. This is a somewhat high concept thing. Some of the examples that they give are pretty interesting. Things like salt flats, quiet lake, things like that. Describe what looks back, right? So you can, anytime we're here, this place can always describe what looks back at you when you look in the mirror. It can reflect back something someone didn't want to see. And it can ask, what is it about your reflection that unnerves you? And of course, then give a token to the person being asked. All right, so aesthetic elements. Glassy, you can choose 2 of these. Glassy water, salt flats, perfect calmness, scratches in the reflection, the sensation of an unfinished world, your doppelganger, or something else.
Pebble's doppelganger.
Well, you know.
I don't think I'm prepared for that.
No.
The next one is a monastery. Monastery, this is a place where a community gathers to learn from its past and cultivate answers to the complicated questions of the world. This does not necessarily mean religious, but it is a place of like-minded people gathered together for some focus, right? And typically somewhat isolated in that there's monks, people inside, and people outside. This place can always describe the rhythm of daily life, show tensions caused by generational divides, and ask, are you willing to wait to get the answer you seek? Give them a token if they're here to wait. Don't tell them the answer either way. Aesthetic elements. The Hermit's Cottage, booming bells, a simple herb garden, scriptorium filled with knowledge, underground catacombs, a wise elder who remembers you from when you were very young, or something else. And finally, a furnace. This one, when I was rolling this up initially, completely threw me in conjunction with the other 2. A furnace burns hot with the force of furious and creative fire. This place can always describe the stifling heat, raise tensions caused by intolerable conditions, and ask, will you forge what once was broken? Give them a token if they try their best. Aesthetic elements, walls of iron tools, ornate glassworks, a legendary blade left unfinished, an imaginative apprentice still learning their craft, a mighty smith with a burning grudge, or, of course, something else of your own invention. So,
I actually like these 3 together. I think they lead to an interesting thing together, especially the first 2, but I think the furnace... the furnace almost makes the other 2 work together a little bit for me.
I can see that. So let's jump back just so that we are focused on one of them. Let's talk, unless we want to jump around a little bit. But do we... let's look at the mirror, right? So the aesthetic elements, glassy water, salt flats, perfect calmness, scratches in the reflection, the sensation of an unfinished world, your doppelganger. Any of these speak to anyone?
Perfect calmness is interesting because truly perfect calmness is actually unsettling on some level. And looking back at a reflection of where something someone didn't want to see in perfect calmness intrigues me.
I think if you're going to do that, we should go with the salt flats.
Salt flats and the perfect calmness.
That's what I was thinking, because those are absolutely barren.
I will say,
true.
I love the salt flats in general as an option, because I think it is such an otherworldly sort of real place.
Right.
Yeah, and that kind of fits with the sensation of an unfinished world, too. So,
well, it fits with all sorts of them, sure. So I'm fine with salt flats as the first one there, especially if I can spell the word flats. All right, so we got that one. I think that sort of covers glassy water. Like, I feel like those are a little redundant in some ways.
Yeah, I don't think we need that one, especially if we're going to have salt flats. I feel like those are kind of mutually exclusive.
Read them again. Or if there's a drop down.
The last ones are perfect calmness, scratches in the reflection, the sensation of an unfinished world, your doppelganger.
That is interesting as the thing that is in theory looking back at you.
It is.
A different version of yourself.
Again, this is a place that reflects you back onto yourself. And that can happen in a lot of ways, right? An unfinished world certainly fits. And I think that pairs really interestingly with a place like a furnace, right? Because that's a place of making in a place that feels unmade or incomplete. Your doppelganger, I think, also fits very well with that salt flat sort of thing and that idea of looking back at yourself. Again, kind of interestingly fits into a manufacturing sort of place. Could also fit in with a monastery in some ways. Calmness certainly ties into the monastery pretty well.
For selfish reasons, I want doppelganger, but we don't have to do that.
For the exact opposite selfish reasons, I don't want that doppelganger.
I have ways to make it nice.
Yeah.
As it turns out, the doppelganger of Pebble isn't creepy at all.
So my only thought about the doppelganger is that this place is also populated, right? There's a monastery here. And fitting both of those in is not impossible by any stretch, but I don't immediately see a way.
Oh, I do.
To do it. Okay, I'm glad one of us does. That's helpful.
Coming across your doppelganger is part of the work at the monastery and finding the self-actualization within yourself. And finding you actually have to confront yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like that weird cave in Dagobah.
I was going to say, is this
Skywalker has to go
doing the tree from Dagobah? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
see here, I was thinking in a much more like metaphorical sense where we just ran across characters that had some intense, thread of commonality to us and compared ourselves against them.
Could be both. Could be either. That's certainly fine. I tell you what, since we've been talking about it a little bit, why don't we leave this for a moment and jump out over to the monastery? Maybe that'll help us out here. So, monastery, hermit's cottage, booming bells, a simple herb garden, scriptorium filled with knowledge, underground catacombs, a wise elder who remembers you from when you were very young. Or again, and I want to stress this, something else. We can always put something else here.
I got two that I like right away. I like the scriptorium and the underground catacombs. I think those fit well with like the kind of barrenness of the salt flats where this is going to be.
That also, to me, that makes a lot of logical sense because you want to be able to keep scripts in a place that's extremely dry because mold is the enemy of paper.
Yep, that's true.
Hey, salt flats would be, in fact, that. I also like the old dude, but...
Sure. I mean, again, Dagobah.
Wow, yeah, it's like dry Dagobah.
Yes.
Oh. Dagobah
meets Tatooine. Yes.
Not Dagobah, but actually Tatooine, yeah.
All right.
I'm cool with the script.
Yeah, I think the scriptorium works very well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I think the herb garden works interestingly as a contrasting place.
Right.
I think that's just cool. And again, this is not necessarily plot elements. These are aesthetic elements. Although we could certainly use them for plot purposes. Certainly, I think if we have doppelgangers, that's going to be more plot than like interesting background detail. But like an herb garden as a place for people to meet outside of the furnace kind of works, right? A place to talk to somebody. Anything like that kind of works for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Greg, any thoughts, Peter?
I just said sure. Yeah, I agree.
My only question with the herbs is how do they water them?
No, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, this is a carefully managed herb garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
intentionally different.
I'm not
from the rest
against
of
it. I think even finding that out while we're there would be interesting.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll tell you what, let's go with that then. Cool. All right, so that's those two. And then let's jump over to the furnace. So, burns hot with the force of furious and creative fire. Aesthetic elements, walls of iron tools, ornate glassworks, legendary blade left unfinished, an imaginative apprentice still learning the craft, mighty smith with a burning grudge, something else.
Okay, I'm going to immediately, vote for the glassworks. Like it feels like that fits with everything else here. And maybe they're even harvesting something from the salt flats that's used in the glass, like a colored salt or something for
the silica underneath it, right?
Yeah.
And it's also reflective, which matches the mirror.
Yeah. Okay. Well, certainly seems reasonable.
Do you use salt in glass? I'm not an expert on glass making.
You don't, but again, the silica from a nearby desert certainly makes sense as something you'd use, right?
Yeah,
or the desert that the salt flats are formed in.
As it turns out, if you heat up salt that hot, you get chlorine gas and sodium.
Oh.
Okay, the salt that's used in glass
That's
making
poisonous and explosive. That's not good.
Yeah, the salt you use in glass making is actually sodium carbonate or soda ash.
Yeah.
It lowers the melting point of the silica.
So, I do kind of like the idea of pulling in another person. First off, I think a legendary blade, not quite what.
I don't think that's our
fitting the tone of this campaign, I think.
Also, Pebble
nor does it fit the tone of everything else that we've established about this location so far.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Pebble does not need to be near a unfinished. So, what do you have there, Pebble? A knife.
Yes.
Weapons.
We do not need an unspeakably tragic sword.
It's a beautiful day in the salt flats, and you are a horrible penguin. All right.
Hey, it's not a tragic sword until Pebble picks it up.
Yeah, it's not tragic yet.
So aesthetic elements.
Actually, I know how to work it in really well now.
Do we want another person, like an apprentice, a smith, somebody else?
Read the apprentice one again.
An imaginative apprentice still learning the craft.
Oh, we could go. So you could have the monastery leader. We could just go full Conan the Barbarian, and he knows the riddle of steel.
I really need to see Conan because I have no idea what's happening.
Read the books; they're better.
Yeah, that's. They are.
Yeah, that's just true.
Yeah, the idea of the riddle of steel is, where, like, what's stronger than steel? What makes a sword so powerful? And what's more powerful than a sword?
Yeah. Anyway, wall of iron tools certainly an option. Could very well.
I definitely like the. Okay, so we've got a scriptorium next to a salt flat, and then a glass works. Synthesizing these a little bit here, and feel free to override me, but maybe like the scriptorium is something about the glass making, and the apprentice is here to like study basically these ancient manuals of glass making that have been piled up in this location, which
that
explains their presence. And
what if we generalize it just a little bit and it's more about optics?
Like lens grinding and stuff, or
yeah, lenses and mirrors.
Okay,
that gives you telescopes.
Yeah,
and microscopes.
That too.
And again, salt flat, great for seeing long distances.
Yeah,
sure. Probably not a whole lot of light pollution.
Yeah, I definitely like this idea. I love the inherent danger of the fact that you have a forge right next to this repository of highly flammable substances.
The highly flammable substances are underground, and fire go up.
It's true. I mean, look, if it's incredibly catastrophic, liquid glass go down. But, not that fast.
Yeah, you still have time, maybe.
Yeah. Could very well be that, this started with them making glass to preserve documents under sheets of glass or between sheets of glass.
Yeah.
And magnifying glasses to read some documents.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
And then somebody got the weird idea to build a giant building out of mirrors.
Oh, yeah. Or, I mean, you say the weird idea, they're surrounded by a giant mirror, right?
Yeah. So then it's built kind of like a walkie-talkie, and then 2 weeks out of the year it turns into like a death ray because it's like this parabolic arc, and then
there you go.
Or maybe even just like shoots light up into the sky, like
Actually,
one day out of the year or something.
The mystery of Archimedes.
I have an idea. The mirror is on like a moving platform, and it follows the trajectory of the sun because that's how they heat the forge.
That's interesting. Certainly, like a boiler idea is really interesting.
The Sun Forger.
I was going to say, like, that's just the thing from Thor, right?
Well,
that is a star.
Well, okay, yes, but...
Yeah, no, that's more like desert solar power. Like, that's actually how some solar power plants work, is it's an array of mirrors aimed at a central boiler.
Yeah, kind of like Helios 1 in Fallout New Vegas.
Okay, so aesthetic elements. I like that we're brainstorming this place, and I like all of that. But let's nail these last couple down and then start actually playing in there.
Yes. Okay, read the list again and skip the sword.
Again, Wall of Iron tools, Imaginative Apprentice, Mighty Smith, something else. Skip the blade and glassworks. We've already talked about those. I think we've kind of hinted at a couple of interesting aesthetic elements that could be here. I like the idea of it like being like lit by, or like a lot of light, brightly lit with mirrors, something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Using like a network of mirrors or glass tubes to bring down like cold light.
Yeah, it's like Legend, but people are wearing pants.
I was just gonna say like those mirrors that was in the Mummy.
Oh,
okay. So I've seen Legend, but not the Mummy.
That
I've seen Mummy, but not Legend.
Mistake. You should definitely watch the Mummy.
Saw bits of it.
We all need to figure out a way to get together and just do like a movie weekend to help Ryan fill in all of his backlog.
Yeah, Discord can do that.
It's a long list, but yes.
We're planning that actually with one of my other friend groups. Somebody seemed interested in The Apprentice.
I don't want the angry old guy.
Sure.
We've had the angry old guy before.
We've done the angry old thing already twice in the same city.
That's valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
I'm fine with The
idea of
Apprentice.
this kind
That's
of,
interesting.
like, maybe even like this is a monastery.
Yeah.
So I have an idea here. Like, part of the monastic craft is, making these lenses and stuff. And part of kind of like the journey for these apprentices of kind of as they graduate to some portion of their training here, or the enlightenment or whatever, is the person that is mentoring them leaves on a pilgrimage to some place and leaves them to their own devices with the forge and things, and they have to solve any problems that they run across themselves, or can focus, without another person distracting them around. And
so
that's part of it. So usually there would be the master here, and that person has left.
The only thing I'm going to say about that, part of the thing that the monastery can always do is show tensions caused by generational divides.
Well, the person could certainly be annoyed that the person left.
Sure, but I think that's not something we could always do if there's only one person in there.
So
it needs to be a monastery is a community, not just one person.
Yeah, and I think like the the head or the elder could have left, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the monastery is still not there. I mean, you could still have, some like council of leadership.
Sure. Okay. I mean, a Glassworks is not going to be a one-person operation, certainly.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That may work then, Peter. All right. Okay. So let's jump back to the mirror one then. We were kind of talking about like perfect calmness, scratches in the reflection, sensation of an unfinished world, your doppelganger, something else. The other possibility is we talked about some of these other aesthetic elements, like shifting light or something like that, right? Like because we talked about a rotating mirror, right? And I think Greg brought that up.
The sensation of an unfinished world was one that I really wanted to go with Salt Flats because just that plain whiteness, it looks like blank canvas that God paints the world on that hasn't been filled.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
That's always one of my favorite visual images, is that the sky reflected so perfectly that you can't really tell what you're standing on, kind of thing. Like you see it in like even stuff like Spirited Away, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even at night, you look at a salt flat and it's just like this endless white expanse, dimly reflecting the starlight, and it's like, whoa, there's nothing out there.
Okay, are we all happy with that then?
Yeah.
And I find it interesting again that unfinished world paired with a place that makes glass and mirrors.
Well, finish parts of the world so you can see the other parts that have already been finished, I guess.
Absolutely. Now, again, these are aesthetic elements. We can bring in whatever we need to for story. But these are, I think, a good starting point. And we'll skip the folklore for right now, unless we really want to.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we can skip it for now.
Cool. All right. And that's just for time purposes. I think some of them are fun, but...
What shall we call it?
Need to move on here, yes. Okay, so you all are traveling. Oh. Last thing, of course, time and seasons.
Right.
It is now Bloom Meadow, and this is an interesting one given the place we have just described. Okay, it's Bloom Meadow is the first month of bright, when all the flowers bloom and pollen fills the air.
I mean, we do have the little garden.
Not at Salt Flat, it doesn't. Although maybe like coming here, we go through some of that.
Sure, absolutely.
And it just kind of
this is just time of year.
Closer.
And we can kind of describe some of this stuff. And remember, the monastery is a community, right? There are people in and out, right? So don't forget that. Some of this certainly applies through that.
Just one other thing that I kind of want to throw out for this monastery that might work with the contrast of like the unfinished and the finished and the season and everything. The monastery is actually at the edge of the Salt Flat. It's built on a cliff that kind of overlooks the basin that the Salt Flat forms in. And so you've got like this thing where you're kind of coming up this hill and you get to the top and there's this monastery here and you look out and there's just pure blank whiteness on the other side of the cliff.
I like that. I was going to initially object, but I really like that idea of like, from this point forward, it's unfinished. That kind of implies that feeling. And it does let us tie in with some of this other stuff, I think, pretty well. But let's talk about...
I've actually even got a name for the monastery if you want.
Great. Let's go ahead and name it then, if you've got one.
World's Edge Abbey.
Right. Works for me.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So Abbey is different from monastery. Usually it's a type of monastery. Well, no. Okay. Sorry. Common parlance, that's often like, nuns are in this, monks are in that. Turns out it's actually a generic term. So that's fine. Never mind. I was wrong about that. Today I learned. All right.
I think abbeys are just run by abbots.
They are. Or abbesses. Yeah. Okay. So,
And it could be the abbot that's out on pilgrimage and everybody else is
yes,
having to deal with
actually.
his...
And
that
they're having to
kinda
deal
works,
with the
'cause-
absence of the abbot.
Yes.
So, Blue Meadow.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Blue Meadow real quick so we can actually get to gaming this stuff instead of talking about it in theory. First month of bright, all the flowers are blooming, pollen fills the air. We need to choose one that this place lacks. The others are all present. Time to relax, sunny skies, good cheer, and the occasional soggy day.
Probably not that last one.
Yeah, I think we can't do this doggy day. Well, we do have an herb garden for all the blooms.
All right, that certainly works for me. So, 3 to 4 signs of the month found in this place. If you look, the first 5 relate to flowers. So, we have bright yellow and white flowers, soft pink and turquoise flowers, vivid red and orange flowers, deep purple and blue flowers, and flower crowns. Flowers are important. We also have everyone's finest outfits, baskets of ripe fruit, waves of pollen, kids making daisy chains, a festival mourning a mythical creature long gone from this place, the distant sound of laughter, or something else.
I don't mind the festival.
Whatever color flowers that we pick, I want to say that's the herb garden blooming.
All right.
Lavender, purple.
Purple, blue. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Deserty colors. Now, again, we can have multiple colors of flowers as our aesthetic elements.
No.
That's perfectly fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I am going to suggest let's also do like the pink and turquoise. First off, turquoise flowers, slightly unusual. Second, again, very desert, right? So you have like your purple and blue flowers
True.
of the herb garden, and then you have like a desert bloom close to, like, as we, through the desert that we come to the monastery to get, through.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
Kind of like an American Southwest style desert where it's relatively plant rich, but it's all hardy desert flora and fauna.
Yeah, you got a bunch of kind of scrubby stuff.
Yeah.
Works for
Any
me.
objections?
Sounds great.
Ryan, you're looking a little suspicious. Nope.
I'm reading some of the Bloom Meadow stuff.
Gotcha. Somebody mentioned the festival.
Yeah, for the ancient creature or whatever.
Yeah, mythical creature long gone from
Yeah.
this place.
Yes, please.
Cool. I like that. And we can choose one more if we want.
I have a recommendation for the creature. The mythical salt dragon.
Ooh.
All right, cool. We'll keep that in mind. Anyone else on any of these others? We can stop here if we need to.
Are we talking about a dragon with salt breath?
No, we're talking about a dragon that actually like rises up out of the salt.
Lives in salt caves.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
he's angry for the constant dry mouth. Got it.
sounds like we don't have another element here, which is great. One last question, Ryan. Does your character have any grudges?
That's the thing I was reading. And yes, she does.
Great. Peter, does your character have any grudges?
Nope. It's
All right.
not Archibald's way.
Well, then I'll just check that box. Greg, does Pebble have any grudges?
Does Pebble ever have any grudges? This is the exact opposite. Yes, actually, Pebble does have a grudge
All right.
with the environment.
All right. Well, that counts. Daniel, does Marion have a grudge? Any grudges? Any grudges at all?
Oh, I haven't read into whatever this is, so
Oh, you don't need to read anything. I just need to know about grudges.
I'm pondering if I would or not. You know what? I'm gonna say yes.
All right, then I don't need to check this box. I'm making this sound far more ominous than it actually
It really is.
You really,
All right,
really are.
I'll ask
but
the question so you don't have to. Grant, does Sunny have any grudges?
More than you could possibly count.
I was gonna say, I feel like Sunny's the one with the most grudges.
I feel like Sunny is just a walking grudge.
Sonny was at least nominally on the other side of whatever happened that Ryan, your character was in?
Yeah.
Like, not a devotee, but in
Like the
that
people in the
community.
village, like the people in the village were the opposite side of what Bria was on.
Kind of, yes. Okay. A little bit.
Sure.
Anyway, there are grudges all around. And,
yes.
Yeah.
It basically, the grudges just mean something doesn't happen. Which is fine.
All that happens really is if we hit that, if we check 6 boxes there, is instead of, Bloom Meadow being a normal bloom, it's a majestic bloom. Everything explodes in color and pollen. It's considered a time to confess one's feelings and revel in the beauty of the world.
From a personal standpoint,
know that some people have grudges and
no pollen, please. Explosion of pollen, bad.
Yes.
Several of us live in places where explosions of pollen regularly happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, so let's get started, shall we? Let's see. Daniel, what is the road out of Delta City like? And when I say road, how are we getting out of Delta City?
Well, usually you leave Delta City about the same way we came in, which would involve a boat.
Okay.
And I imagine to get towards a desert, you're basically just going to take one of the offshoots of the river and just go till that river runs out. Or actually, no, you would go up into the foot of the mountains. Then you'd have to cross the mountain road, then down into the desert.
Okay.
Which theory is where the Abbey is? On the edge of the desert?
Somewhere, but I think actually deeper into the desert by the sound of it.
Yeah, you'd have to go into the desert, and then there's like the salt flats further in.
Oh, sure.
Well, Brett, what's the journey been like here as we enter Bloom Meadow? We're really into Bright now.
Probably, we're not quite to the salt flats yet. Still not so bad yet, but that sense of unease coming from knowing the complete another opposite of home approaches. Little penguin body not built for sun, not built for dry, not built for not wet dry.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure anybody in this group is
Antarctica is technically a desert.
Sure is. One of the driest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that raises an interesting question. You know what you're headed to. What is the reputation of World's Edge Abbey, Peter?
I'm not sure it has all that much of one in most of the wider world. I would say obscure, like not a lot of people want to come out this way, so people may have heard the name, but don't really have strongly formed opinions about it.
If I may, can I jump in?
Sure.
Then if that's the case, I would say since Marion is the pilgrim, and generally pilgrims have some sort of association with abbeys in my head, this would have been Marion's idea of, listen, I know this is kind of a long trek, but this place in Bloomborough is astonishing in the way it can catch the light and the things that they do with it. You've got to come and see this. And then I just talk all of y'all into this. I'm hyping this place up. And then like, oh yeah, by the way, it's in the desert.
Right, yeah, like 5 days down the road, Daniel. It's, sure, it's extremely dry.
Bloomborough's the set. Yeah, I know you're going to have it eventually. It's the set. You're going to have it eventually.
I'm glad you called him out on that, not me. So I was going to call both of you out.
I need to write that down. Bloom Meadow.
Ryan.
Yes.
As Bria sees this abbey for the first time, what's the structure of the abbey look like?
I feel like it doesn't, in my head, it doesn't look so much actually like an abbey because it's a lot of hard angles and a lot of glass. And in my head, abbeys are very rounded for some reason. Like the parapets, is that the word I want?
Sure.
Like it's got like a lot of parapets and it's like very curvy and whatever. And that's not what I see here. I see something more. There's somebody put a picture in the dock that was like very hard
Angular,
lines.
modern.
Yeah. Because it's like a multi-purpose place. It's not. It's like somebody tried to build a whole town, and the only things that lasted were the glassworks in the abbey, for some reason.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why it's like that fits was the incomplete thing. Was a sensation of an unfinished world for me. It's like someone tried to do a thing here, and most of it didn't stick.
So it's not. Is it then that they built these buildings and nobody moved in and they fell down, or were foundations laid and nothing completed?
I say nothing completed. That there's just the people. What it has become is the intention was a whole big village or city, and what you have is the people who it made sense to actually be here instead of just kind of building in. One does not typically build in a desert if one can help it.
This reminds me actually of a real life thing called the Salton Sea, out in Nevada, I think.
Probably.
Basically, they tried to like divert part of a river, and they accidentally made a lake, and they built like a resort town on this lake, and it was called the Salton Sea. But the problem is, because it was an accidental diversion that made this lake, it doesn't get fed into, so the salt levels like go super duper high, and it kills all the fish in it, and so the entire town smells like dead fish, and everybody left.
Yep.
So it was this thing of like, here's this great resort town, and then everyone's gone.
Yeah.
It's in California.
The
California.
Black Sea now is a lot. I think it's the Black Sea is a lot like that now, where it's a hypersaline sea that's so toxic that like wading birds go into it, die, and calcify.
Yeah, the Dead Sea.
Bruh.
And you can't sink in it.
Yeah. Well, the Dead Sea is similar, but that one at least has stuff feeding into it a little bit. This one, all the input has been diverted. A lot of it happened under, during the USSR's existence, things like that.
For those interested, the Salton Sea is near Palm Springs and Joshua Tree.
Oh,
Yeah.
neat. Okay.
Because I was curious. It's big. It's a big lake.
Yeah.
It's
Great
not
YouTube
particularly useful.
Joshua Tree. All right. Yeah. Moving on.
Cool. All right. So you have this hard, angular. Is it reflective then? Is there a lot of glass on the surface, Ryan?
Yes.
Interesting. Hard, angular, reflective surface.
When
Catching the light, certainly.
a monastery or whatever you want to call it that makes you immediately look back at yourself, as you look inward. It forces self-reflection.
Interesting.
Whether you want to or not.
Right. And of course, behind it, this vast expanse of
More
reflective, white nothingness, like the firmament's just not been worked. It's just waiting for a hand.
I like the idea of exactly the things that make sense here. A monastery that's out of the way, a glassworks, and a place to keep books dry are the only things that survived.
Sure. There's probably some traffic, or at least evidence of traffic here. This is not an abandoned road. This monastery does make glass. Glass is a very useful item, and glass products are in demand all over. So there's certainly that. But you're right. It is empty feeling here. That's for sure. Any other interesting details that you can see from the outside before you approach? Marlon, Dana, what are Marion's feelings about seeing it? Is it anything special? Is it something you had a connection to or have one? Or is it just, oh, neat, checked off? Well, that's one item done.
I think it's a place I would say that Marion is maybe looking for a connection to. I would say it's something like, other pilgrims have, there's, you have to make a pilgrimage to somewhere, and this will be one of the locations. Like, Marion has an idea of places that he needs to go, and this is one.
Thanks for listening to City on a Hill Gaming. If you want to find out more, visit us online at cityonahillgaming.com or by sending us an email at cityonahillgaming@gmail.com. Or check the link in the description to join our Discord. Thanks as always to our Patreon backers, Christina, Joanne, Tony, Bryan, Andrew, Sir Lord Epic Name, and Grizzly Rich. And as always, thanks for listening, and have a blessed day. And now the time of the sound check is upon us. Daniel's smiling. That word. Okay, Daniel, go. That's not good.
All right, so Flourishing Flowers charges $125 plus $60 for each standard floral arrangement to deliver and set up flowers for a banquet. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that shows us cost Y for flowers for X number of arrangements.
No, I don't want to. You can't make me. I'm not in high school anymore. Middle school? Middle school anymore.
What, you don't want to do any more slope-intercept form? That's the best form for slope lines. I did it then. Oh,
is that geometry?
Yeah, don't tell me you were a... Never mind. Yeah, slope-intercept is best form for
slope-intercept form is best form. I will take your word for it. I can't do it. Okay, Grant, your turn.
You are reading a tabletop role-playing game, RPG, in which one player takes the part of the game's master, GM, and prepares the world and controls the people in peril in it, while the other players create characters on a journey through that self-same world. You now have the context and key terms to explore the medium independently, and nothing I say here can fully instruct you on what is a deep and rich form of entertainment on par with cinema or fly fishing. Treat it like you would any new hobby, but know that this activity is one you engage in with others. Use best practices and safety tools to ensure that everyone playing feels safe, that no unkind line is crossed, that no one is made to feel to their detriment, and everyone can fully enjoy themselves. That's half of the entire intro to my latest role-playing game obsession, which is Troika 3rd Edition, which is a delightfully weird, I'm going to call it an OSR-like game. Mm-hmm. It's, boy, is it a weird little monster of a game.
Yep.
I'm still trying to walk back fly fishing, but okay.
Well,
it sounds nice. Yes,
that was akin to cinema or fly fishing.
Or fly fishing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That is the entire description of role playing in this game.
Okay.
I mean, do you know how a lot of them have paragraphs explaining it?
Just pretend you're a fly skimming along the surface of the water in order to attract a rainbow trout.
You could do that in Troika.
Yes, actually. Here's some of the language you can use in here. Here's the invisibility spell, for example. The wizard turns flesh into refractive crystal sheets. It's very uncomfortable and you make a slight shing sound as you move, but are quite invisible and don't suffer from the usual limitations of illusions. Lasts for 3 minutes, after which you noisily reform into dull and frustratingly opaque flesh.
Is this Troika, the science fantasy RPG?
Yes, it is.
I'm looking at their website. I'm intrigued.
Just the fact that you are now, it sounds like you're wearing a windbreaker tracksuit from the 90s is just, I am stealth.
Yes, that's basically the concept. A few other delightful spells, just because the spells are fun. Peace. Open up the mind to universal love and cause 2 subjects to test their luck or cease hostilities. They still defend themselves if attacked, but at least appreciate the pettiness of it.
I want this, but I want it turned up to like 11, so it just reads like Douglas Adams wrote an RPG.
Mm-hmm. This kind of has a little bit of that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
There is a protection from rain spell. This spell prevents the wizard from getting rained upon for 1 shower.
Wait.
for one
Only
shower,
Hmm?
which is such a delightful play on the usual D&D formatting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing the fly fishing thing. I'm looking at the website.
Yeah, it's good times. And the last little bit, because some of these spell descriptions are fantastic. I'm not going to read you the whole thing because it's got a table involved, but posthumous vitality. Necromancers, known for their social inadequacy, often find themselves having to make friends.
Oh no. No.
I want to say
Okay.
it was free in the
Oh my gosh.
humble bundle, not humble bundle, the H.io for racial justice thing a few years ago.
I believe that's where I got it.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
definitely.
I played it.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's where you got it, I have a copy of this too. Then
I was
just
going to say
need
I may
that
have this
bitch.
somewhere.
Yeah, it is on our short list of games to play now that Peter has put his game or his usual Saturday game on hiatus until we get our fourth player back. So
That is incredible. It's
I'm
Yep.
reading through some character creation options and excuse me?
yeah.
We played it on Geek at Arms.
Oh, okay.
I just want the full-on Douglas Adams reference of flying, simply falling at the ground and missing. That way you can hang in the air, much in the same way bricks don't.
Wait. Oh no.
I mean, here's one that is very Douglas Adams. Iron Hand. The common man does not appreciate exactly how close flesh and iron are when considered relative to, say, flesh and the smell of hot tea.
Yes, that is exactly a Douglas Adams quote. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it does pick it up. Okay, so their website, when you're looking through the resources, when you change pages, it actually makes a page turning sound, and I think my computer is picking it up right now on our recording.
Anyway, we spent a while on Troika. I'll let somebody else go, but this has been my obsession lately.
It's justified.
So this art is fascinating. Greg,
It's so good.
Go.
A Testimony by Rich Mullins. I owe Brennan Manning $30 for lecture tapes I bought from him on an IOU. I'm not writing this testimony because of the debt. I simply mention it because indebtedness is a condition indicative of ragamuffins, a condition we all share until we lose ourselves in liberating, healing, invigorating truth to which these pages bear testimony. My introduction to Brennan Manning's work came on a drive south from Manhattan, Kansas, to the edge of the Flint Hills. It's a beautiful drive, best accompanied by the music of Aaron Copland or by pure silence. When a friend put a tape of one of Manning's lectures in my truck's tape player, I objected, but my friend said, "Just give it 10 minutes." 5 minutes later, I steered the truck onto the shoulder of the road. My eyes were so full of tears, I could not see to drive.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was actually just the name of the ragamuffin that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said ragamuffin. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, because that's from the start of Ragamuffin Gospel by Brennan Manning.
Oh, okay.
You'll recognize one of the quotes from it. From DC Talks, What If I Stumble? The single greatest cause of atheism in the world today is Christians who pronounce with their lips but walk out the door and don't buy their lifestyle. That's what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable, or something like that. That's from Ragamuffin Gospel.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard that latter quote.
I've heard things similar. Yeah. I believe Peter's left.
Okay. Knight, number appearing 1, may be accompanied by 1d4 other knights or squires as peasants, page 30. HD 3, 14 hit points. Appearance, heavily armored warrior. Voice, courteous and formal even when angry. Wants, to fulfill their quest. Morality, lawful dim, usually uncompromising, but can sometimes be made to understand morally ambiguous situations. Intelligence, expertise with horses, courtly functions, poetry, legends, and beasts. Hopeless at nearly everything else. Armor has plate plus shield, move normal, 2 times normal if on horseback, morale 9, damage 1d8 plus 1, sword 1d8 plus 1, sword. Depending on their quest, knights may issue challenges, charge immediately, offer assistance, ask for assistance, demand payment, or generally interfere with the lives of anyone they meet.
What is
There
this
you go.
from?
It's the night entry from the Monster Overhaul.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I like it.
You should see all of the random tables and stuff that come with it. The absurdity does not end there, nor, by the way, does like the genuinely interesting, like useful gaming content for
Right.
even a non-absurd game. Like it's a really cool book.
I'm going to take a cue from Grant and read something from the Troika spell list. Purple lenses. The subject's eyes glow purple as their sight reveals an alternate reality, where people are kind, surroundings are beautiful, and food is indulgent, and so on. This doesn't change the reality of things, but it does make things more palatable. Lasts until the caster wants it to end. Lovely.
Yep.
Lovely. Big fan. This is just... What even is this?
Yeah. No, that sums that up extremely well.
There's...
Is
math is a skill in this.
Hey,
Okay.
Daniel, good news.
I mean, math is a skill in real life too.
You're not wrong.
Finally, it's
Yeah,
my
Nice
that's
thing
right.
is
time.
you only
Right.
really have to worry about the skills that are in your background. So
And etiquette? Y'all are asking a lot from me. All right, fine. All right.
Is it going on the list now?
Yeah, probably. I am intrigued by this. Sure, we'll see.
I mean,
Contact Bryan, find out if or when it's ever, whenever it's going to be released. It might have, and I missed it. I will fully admit.
I don't
I miss a
remember
lot
seeing it, but that doesn't
of those
mean-
episodes. Which
He's
is really
uploaded a lot
sad.
recently.
Well, it's really sad since I'm on them.
I was gonna say